Let's get started on page 5 for the album. Here I'm just going to create a full page outside the page projector size layout with a pocket. Um, it's on fast forward as we get started. Uh, just trimming out the photo there, trimming out the journaling card I plan to use inside that pocket I'm going to make. The pocket's going to be in the picture itself. So I'm just laying it out, making sure that I have enough space for the journaling card I chose, that I trimmed it down enough that it's not going to interfere with the holes. Just using the corner rounder to round the top so it looks more like a tab when that red part on the top will be stuck out of the pocket when the layout's finished. Here I am just measuring where I want to put the slit in the photo. I cut the actual cutting out of it out of the video because my head was in the way, but all I did was measure where I wanted the slit, made it just a hair wider than the journaling card. You want that journaling card to be fairly secure in there. You want to be able to move it in and out easily, but not flopping around. And I do two very close together slits. It's probably less than a 16th of an inch there as a space, but little, just a rectangle essentially, so that you are able to get that journaling card in and out. If you only do the one cut, sometimes it's difficult and you'll bend your picture and things like that. So I always do two slits. You don't see it because the journaling card hides it from the back. And then when you have the journaling card completely out, it's just a white triangle. If you didn't want it to be white in behind, you could always put a piece of pattern paper on the back side of what you're adhering your photo to. Here I'm just it's just copy paper that I've made into strips and using a bone folder and scoring board to score them, folding them in half and burnishing them so they're flat. And this is going to make the pocket on the back. The bottom one you want in the right position so that your journaling card, if it's all the way in, will sit where you want it to. In my case, I don't want any of the white showing where the journaling's going to be, just that red. So that's where I will put that one. And then one gets adhered to each side. Right here, I'm just placing, I haven't adhered anything yet. I'm just marking where they need to go. I'll set them back up. I'm just trimming them off. You don't need them super long. I made these ones longer than they needed to be. Here I am adhering them with the Sookwang, which is just a double-sided adhesive. Using my little multi-tool to take the backings off. I find that the easiest. And just double checking my placement to make sure that if it's all the way in, it's going to be okay. Usually they're tight enough that they're going to stay wherever you position them, but you also don't want it to fall down too far and then get lost in there. So that's why you put the little bumper. And then the side ones mean that it won't slide from side to side. It'll stay nice and straight when it's in the album. Still just adhering everything down, taking my time to make sure that everything's in the right spot. And here you're going to see me put just a little bit of glue in the corners just to make it a true pocket. Double checking, make sure it fits in the back, and then putting it back in the front. So the pocket is finished. Just fussy around. So now I'm going to choose my embellishments. So first up is a vellum ornament from the 2024 collection. Um, I think I fussy cut that out of something, I believe, last year. I don't think it was one that came like that. Um, just poking a hole in the top. So it's going to get adhered to this journaling card, which will also help to secure the journaling card to stay where I want it to stay. The journaling card will be inside the pocket. The ornament will lay outside the pocket. And I'm just going to add a few stars here. Those are plastic stars, shaker stars. There's little stars inside the larger transparent star from a few years ago. I can't remember for sure which year those came out, but I still had a few in my stash, decided this was a good spot to use them. So I'm just trying to place them where they look okay, but also aren't interfering with holes. So just double checking that my ornament will sit nicely without interfering with the holes and as well as that star. I'm going to adhere that top one down with my tiny attacher. The top one is fine to just put on with the tiny attacher. The bottom one, I am also going to use the tiny attacher for, but you have to make sure that you're double checking the back. Notice I took the card out. You don't want to put a staple through your pocket that will interfere with the card. So just be mindful of that. Um, I'm just making sure that it's not in the way and then sticking it back in to make sure that it goes back in properly. And next up, just going to choose a number. I have the smaller ones, but I chose one of those bigger ones. It's an Ali Edwards product, but I'm not sure which kit or what year it's from. I've used up most of them by the looks of it. It's a nice size. I really like this size. I'm hoping that Ali brings out more of that size. I like the tiny ones a lot, but sometimes I just want a bigger number. And I love the puffy stickers for numbers. So that's done. So now I will be adhering it to the back. So at first I'm just going to put a little glue around the holes so then I don't have to worry about that. And then on the back, I'm just going to put a little glue around three sides of that pocket. You don't want anything on the actual part where the journaling card will go. I'm using the ATG everywhere else. And then you're going to see me put just another little tiny bead of glue just at the top of the pocket on the photo side, not the pocket side. That will adhere it to the layout on the back that will allow the pocket to pop up just a little bit to be able to put your journaling card in. And that's that. Just once you've glued it down, it becomes a little tighter, so you just work it in there two or three times and it'll loosen up a bit and yeah, that's done. I do recommend not leaving your journaling card in as things dry and adhere. Sometimes there's some stray glue, some stray double-sided tape that will adhere to your journaling card. So I just let everything dry first, make sure that there's nothing sticky happening, and then in a couple of days, I then put will leave it in the pocket permanently. Um, just see me trimming everything down, trying to hide faces in that layout from behind, adding my holes. And here you're going to see me make a huge mistake. The holes, I didn't line them up properly, and I ended up with an extra hole because I had to punch a new one. So pivoting just a little, I left the embellishments that were on there on, but I'm going to add a few glitter stars just to cover up that hole. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I made the mistake because I like the added glitter stars. It adds just a little something something. So that top one is I started with cardstock ones, but they weren't quite right. And then pulled out these glitter ones that I found. They happened to be just the right size, three different sizes even. I'm gonna add one up in the corner there where I made the mistake, and you honestly can't see the hole at all, so it worked out okay. And then once I've got them all adhered down, the top one it overhangs just a little bit on the picture, so I'll be taking this out and trimming the little corner off. I love when things overhang off the pictures and whatnot. It just adds a little interest. I'm gonna add my journaling to my journaling card. And because I adhered that ornament on with a brad, it will swing out of the way so you can see the journaling when you pull out the card. Just gonna finish that up. Here, I'm just gonna add that back in and call that one finished, and we'll move on to
Okay.
the next one.
Next up, we're going to work on pages 6 and 7. My page is inspired by a layout from Linda Jordan from Linda Loves Creating from her 2021. I was just looking at her 2021 flip through a couple of months ago, and this one stood out to me where she had a 3x8 card on one side, a transparency on the other, with some small photos and journaling and some embellishments. So that's where we're going to start. So I've printed my photos. So one will be a Starbucks page, one will be about an event that I did, a scrapbook event with scrapbooking cards today called Crop and Create. So this first one, this will be the Crop and Create. I'm using two physical 3x8 cards. This is not the one I wanted to use on the back originally. I was going to flip them. I wanted Starbucks first and then Crop and Create, but I can't do that with the physical cards because this one would have to go this way and it would be upside down. So I'm just going to flip them. I've got a Starbucks cup in my hand, which is why I wanted to do it the other way around in my Crop and Create one, but this is fine. It doesn't matter. My stories aren't in order anyway. This is the transparency I've chosen. So it goes this way, but I want the gold with the gold on the on this 3x8. So we're going to flip this and use this back side on the front side. So it'll look something like that. It'll get stitched down here. I've got my photos to go on here. Actually, I have a different one. I decided I'm going to put one of my photos up here and my journaling over here on this one. So I have a smaller photo that I've printed as well. Yeah, let's get started.
So the first thing we're gonna do is stamp that Crop and Create stamp that's from Scrapbook Cards today. That was the event that I did, the Crop and Create holiday event. It's a new stamp, so you saw me push it down a few times with rub my fingers across it. It just takes any of the processing things off, makes your stamp better. Just using VersaFine ink in black. I'm using a Misty today. I have arthritis. I think I've said that before. Any tools that I can use to help my hands, I do. It's cold in here today. You'll see me fumble quite a bit. That pink square tool I'm using is a Pink Fresh stamp press tool. Again, it helps with arthritis to take the pressure off your hands and allows for even pressure across the Misty. I'm just going to stamp a couple times. Going to take some stamp cleaner, clean off my stamp real quick. Just using that stamp cleaner I'm using is from Ranger, and then I just use a microfiber cloth. I have some other ones as well, but that one's just a plain old cloth. I just throw it in the wash every now and then. I use a dark one so you don't see all the black ink. It helps. So there, the stamp is done. Then I'm just going to bring in my pieces and get them lined up. So I'm lining it up on the holes first. And then usually when I'm using transparency, it doesn't have holes, but I'm just going to stitch right where the holes are. It's going to line up perfectly. So I just added a little temporary adhesive on there For now, it's not I'm gonna add some mint tape here afterwards before I put it through the sewing machine. But the temporary adhesive just helps to hold it down while I'm fussing with everything. And then I think I said earlier I was going to use the gold stars on the back side, but somewhere along the way I decided no, I was going to use the gold on the front. It ties in with my story 5 page that has quite a bit of gold on it and lots of stars, so just continuing that on. Next, I'm going to just trim up my pictures, just leaving a very tiny white border around the photos. Just enough to separate it from the transparency, give it a little depth. Getting all those ones just trimmed off. There's a look at another page that's going to be happening soon. And then just showing, when I print a card like this, it's all white, so it's really hard to know where I'm supposed to be trimming it. So I add in Photoshop a little stroke in a light gray just so I can see where to trim. And then I did switch out my trimmers. This one is a little Tim Holtz tonic trimmer. It allows for really precise trimming. I really like this one, but it is tiny. Um, so I only use it for smaller cards like 3x4s and 4x6s. Um, it will go to 6 inches lengthwise, like up and down, or up and down, so vertically, but to horizontally, it'll only go to 3.5, I believe. Yeah, 3.5. So yeah, just continuing to trim. The next one here. So in Photoshop, I made sure that each photo was the same size. The journaling ones and the photos, not because I wasn't sure which placement I was going to put them. So I made sure that they were the same. I think when I trimmed them, however, I got the journaling cards just a little bit smaller for whatever reason, but that's fine. You'll also see there's some printing on the back of some of these. That's because when I printed it the first time, I just threw the piece of paper in there and didn't realize I had already printed something on it. So ended up just reprinting on the other side. I've mentioned before I use double-sided glossy flyer paper to print my photos. Then that allows that if I do make a mistake, I can just flip it around and use it again. Here, I'm just trying to decide where I'd like to place everything before I put it through the sewing machine, and also make sure that everything does fit and that it will work where I've got it. So here I'm pulling out my thread. So I have a Calyx pegboard. That little container where my thread is, that one is all green, red, metallic, kind of things I would use for December Daily. It lives on my pegboard. I have a lot of thread, as you can see by my bobbin cases there. That's not all the thread I have. Those are just the bobbins I've actually filled. Just going through the greens that I have. I'm going to use two different colors here. I'm going to use a green on this side, and I actually had one that matched, which is that one right there, which that with that tree, so I thought that would be nice. And then on the other side, I'm going to pull out white. So when I sew, it will be on the crop and create side, and it will be facing up. And then the other one, the bobbin thread, will be the white one in the bottom, and that will be what is on the red card. Here I'm just taking more of that mint tape I had secured the front down already, which is the side I'm going to be sewing on, but now I'm just putting it on the edges on the side I'm not sewing on, just to make sure it doesn't shift. As you're sewing, you'll see me here taking the mint tape off. I try not to sew through tape. There's a bit of temporary adhesive on there, but the temporary adhesive does not bung up my machine. Other things do. If I were to use my ATG gun or sew through actual tape, it will sometimes interfere with the needle. I used to sew quite a bit on fabric and used to make clothes and things. I don't anymore. I mostly just sew on paper. But when you are sewing on paper, it's important to change your needle frequently. If you notice it's making big holes or it's starting to mess up, it's usually a sign that you need to change your needle. So today, because I'm sewing through quite a bit, I of thicknesses and different materials, I did change out my needle. I don't know if you can see them there in on the side. I use a size 70, sometimes a size 80 needle. 70 is a little smaller. I like it the best. And that's what I put in there today. Here I'm just tying off my ends because you're going to see the thread. Sometimes I'll just pull it to the back and put a little washi tape on. But because obviously there's thread on both sides that you're going to see, I just pulled the threads through to the top and secured it with a knot. The sewing part's done. It turned out okay. Each person's machine is different, but I did use a zigzag. Um, I think my stitch length was I did 4 and 1 stitch length. No, not one. 1.5 stitch length and a 4 for the zigzag, in case anyone's wondering. And it was the perfect size to be able to hit both sides of the paper. Here I'm just securing it down. I hadn't adhered uh, the papers back to back yet, not knowing for sure if I was going to want to punch something through, but decided that wasn't going to happen. So now I'm just adhering it down. I could have adhered it first before I sewed it, but chose not to this time around. Here I'm just putting a little bead of glue on the edges just so that it stays nice and secure. And that's done. Next we'll bring in some embellishments here and get our photos and everything on. So this side is fairly simple, just the photos. That's the one that I had reprinted a little smaller to be able to put up in that space. I'm going to put the picture on the top and the journaling on the bottom here. I'm going to use my mat just to line things up and still just eyeballing. I'm not really measuring anything, just eyeballing where I want to put everything, but the lines on the mat allow me to eyeball it with a little more accuracy. And then I'm just choosing one of these six from the six stickers. I was going to put it right there in that O, but quickly decided that's not where I wanted it. Decided I would put it in that space, but needed something to put behind. So you're just going to see me pull out the little embellishment case that I have and pull out some stars. Just trying out different things. First one was a felt piece and it just felt heavy on there, so decided that wasn't the one. I like that wood veneer that I pulled out. And then I'm pulling out one of the white painted ones, which I thought might be nice where the background isn't actually white on that card. But in the end, I chose that wood veneer. So next, I'm just going to be adhering that down and putting the 6 on top, just with a little glue again. I'm going to put the 6 on first. Make sure that's adhered down and then put the star down with the glue. And that side is finished. We'll flip it around, bring in, I had already pulled out a few things that I thought might work with this page. So first up, I'm just gonna place all my photos and my journaling. I previously decided on the layout when I was fussying around with it. I'm gonna pull out these stars. I really liked that bow, but not quite what I wanted. That was a plastic tag, which I did like, but again, wasn't quite right for what I wanted. I really like this right where it's at right now. I may go back and use it. I ended up not right now just because I don't have anything, or I didn't have anything pulled out to use on the other side in that space. So I've put it aside, and I may go back and try it again to just see if I can find something to put on the back. I could always just print something to put back there as well if I decide to use it. Putting my pictures down. And then I ended up using what you can see there, just a cardstock solid green star and one of the plastic tags. Just gonna adhere the star down as is, put it at a little slant, and then the tag will go on straight. I've just pulled out a little white twine. Just gonna fold it and make 4 strands. Thread that through so that the loop comes to the front. And then again, I'll trim my little tails. Maybe should have used a little less, but I love twine, so the more twine, the better. Why not? So I trim it so it's just to the top of the page. Um, just overhangs just a wee little bit. And then you're gonna see me adhere this down. So I'm gonna pull out those dots again, which are adhesive dots. It says on the packaging not to use your fingers on it, but I do it all the time. Oh, I am adhering the twine down with my tiny attacher just because the hole at the top of those are fairly large compared to the twine that's in it, and they do tend to come undone. So I just use the tiny attacher to secure that a little better. Oh, I guess first I'm going to do my numbers. Again, cutting off that packaging. I do that all the time. And I'm just gonna choose this Puffy 7. I think those are from this year's kit, the 2025 kit. Pretty sure I just got those. There's those dots. So you're gonna see me pull one off. I'm trying to show because I didn't show them very well the last time. I still didn't get it in frame. But I'm just taking one apart off the thing, folding it in half, and then cutting it. I don't need the full dot. They're fairly large, so that's how I cut them. So I'm not getting adhesive all over my scissors. And then I'm just pulling it out so you can see just how tacky it is. Rolling it up just like I did with the brads in the other video, putting it on the back, adding just a little glue behind the 7 so you won't see it, and then adhering it down. I could have put something on that star underneath um, and left the glue off, but then if you're lifting that tag up, those dots aren't going to hold it very well. I would want to put a brad or something like that if I was planning to leave the tag loose. But that's the end. We'll see you in the next one.